Hi. Now let's get started with Excel. It's quite a bit different than Word, so let's take a look at it. I'm going to go to the Start button, All Programs, Microsoft Office, and then to Excel. And what you come up with is this blank screen. Blank workbook. You notice here that you have your quick access bar, you have your title bar, the tabs, everything up here looks the same, doesn't it? Except for right here. Right here, what you have is you have your name box. This tells you what cell you're in. You have your formula bar. This is where you create your formulas within Excel. And here's your function key so that you can insert a function. This check mark is the same as pressing your enter key. So all of these areas within Excel are something you're going to have to get used to. You have columns. Your alphabetically named columns are right to left, left to right, and then you have rows, which are numbered sequentially all the way down. Now, if you take a look at this, how many rows can you create? Well, you can go A to Z. If you look here, you can go A to Z, and then you've got A, Z, all the way over. And if you go all the way to the end by pressing your End key, then your right arrow, you've got a lot of columns. I'm going to press my End key and go back to the top. How many rows do you think you have? I'm going to press my End key and my down arrow. You have 1,048,576 possible rows. That is one huge spreadsheet. Now I'm going to press my End key and up arrow. It will go all the way back to cell A1. This is called your home cell. Now, if I pick any of these cells, the cell is defined as an intersection of a column and a row. And whichever cell is selected, that's where your information is going to go into. And as you notice, as I move around, look at this address bar. See how it changes? I'm in column C, row 6. Column E, row 8. That's how your address bar works. You also, not only do you have this huge worksheet, down here at the bottom, if you look down at the bottom of your page, you have the ability to make additional sheets. So you can have, it starts with 3 sheets. This little button right down here, you can insert a new worksheet. So like if you were working on a budget for several quarters, you also can right-click where it says Sheet 1 and rename your sheet. Rename this to Quarter 1 and rename the second one to Quarter 2 and so on. And I mean, you get the idea. That way you can see what worksheet you're working on. Now there's 2 different types of entries in a worksheet in Excel. There's this entry and then there's this entry. The top entry, this entry, the letters or a combination of numbers and letters is a label. So when you go to label, your labels will not be considered in your calculations, of course. But if you use just numbers or a formula, it is a value. So remember, you've got labels and values. If I select more than one cell, I could select this whole section here. You know, of course, you'd only want to do it if you had entries in there. But this whole selection of cells, that is called a range of cells. So you've either got one cell or a range of cells. Now, if I want to change this, something in here, I see that, oh, this number really should be 223,000. I can do that several ways. I can press my F2 key, and look at what happens when I press F2. Okay, if I want to edit something in this cell, I can either double click in the cell and I can change whatever I want. I can go back over here and I can delete this 2, this 1, and make it 2. Or the other way that I can do it is I can go up here to the formula bar and I can click in there and make the changes there. So either way, you can make changes to what your entries. Now I've loaded a worksheet that already has some data in it so we can start working with it. And I keep referring to the formula bar and the function bar, and if you read your book, you probably are maybe thoroughly confused on how to write formulas and functions. But the first thing I want to remind you of is, from your high school math, what are the operators, mathematical operators? Well, first you have plus for addition, right? Then you have plus for addition, minus for subtraction, your slash for division, your asterisk for multiplication, and then your caret for exponents. So those are the operators, the mathematical operators that you have to work with. There are some built-in functions that Excel has already written. They figure that you're going to be using them a lot. And so there is a built-in operator that you can add with, that you can find averages and everything. But the first thing I want to do is show you how to write a simple formula. If I want to add up these numbers right above here, I'm going to show you the hard way to do it first. The very first thing you start with is with your equal sign. All formulas start with equals. Then don't go in here and write 84 plus 71 plus 22 or minus 22 and so on and so forth. If I do that and I go back and I want to change any of these numbers, Excel will not automatically update your total. Instead, what you want to do, which is a lot easier, you want to add this cell, cell B4, plus cell B5, plus cell B6, plus cell B8, whoop, should have been 7, plus cell B8. Do you see here how these are highlighted? And you can see the pattern that you're creating. So now I can go up here and click this check mark, and there's my total. Well, now I can go over here to Boston and Denver, and I can do the same thing. Or, what is much, much easier, this little square down at the bottom corner of the highlighted box, you see how that changes to a plus sign? If you grab that and you move that over, I'm copying the formula. So you see, that's going to save you a lot of time. There is a much easier way to do this. And the easier way to do this, I'm going to leave this cell there. The easier way is if you go up here into your Home tab and way over here on the right, the editing, if you click on Auto Sum, if you read the directions, what it's going to do is it's going to add selected cells together. So I'm going to click Auto Sum, and I'm going to tell Excel, okay, I'm tired of this. You do it for me. What it does is it writes the formula. Auto Sum, it equals the sum. Then it tells you to select what range you want to select. Well, this is the correct range, so I'm going to press Enter. Ooh, that's a whole lot easier. I'll show you it without all the descriptions, how quick it can be. Click Auto Sum, click Enter. There it is. Now I copy this over. That works a whole lot easier, doesn't it? You can do the same thing on the totals here. Auto Sum, if this is the right range, click Enter. So now I can drag this down. So that's nice. That's the simple addition formula. I'm going to leave it with that right now because there's some other things in Unit A that I wanted to cover. You can resize cells. If for some reason when you create a cell column, and look at here, this cell is too small. You can't see all the letters. Go up here to the column at the columns where it names them. See where it says column E? There's a little bar between column E and column F. You grab a hold of that and you drag it as wide as you want it. Or the other way, the easy way, is if you just double click on it. Excel will make it the width of the largest item within the cell. And so you can do the same thing with the rows. Say you want your row a little bit taller here for altitude, or more logical is you want more height for the labels. You can do that. So your columns and your rows can be changed. You can also do all kinds of things. If you want to move a cell, all you do, you look at this black box around the cell, you grab that top margin there, the top border, and you drag it wherever you want to drag it to. You see there, that's the difference between moving and copying. You can copy too, you can copy like you did in Excel, in Word. Control C to copy, move where you want it, Control V to paste. Any of these items are really easy. The same thing with your move command. Control X to cut, Control V to move. So once you've gotten used to it in Word, you should be able to do it in Excel too. If I have a very, very large worksheet and I want to be able to go to a certain location, you can name your cells. If I click on this cell and I want to name it, I can right click and I can define the name, and I can say whatever name. I can type whatever name I want. Total number 1. Okay, so I can name this cell. Oh, it does not, it has to be, I cannot use a pound sign. So I can do total 1. No spaces. So you have to be careful what you want to name it. So I can name this total 1. So if I have different totals, the nice thing about this, if I want to go to a specific cell and I know that that cell is named, I can go up here to the address bar and I can type total 1. And when I press enter, you see how the cell that is selected is the cell with that name. Well, that's not much use in a small spreadsheet like this. But if you have a very large spreadsheet and you're having to go from one part of the spreadsheet to another, it's really nice. So that's how you can name cells. You can also use the names in formulas if you want to. When we work on these spreadsheets and when you want to print them for me, what you need to do is you need to always show your grid lines. So if you go out here, up here, let's start with the formulas. You can show your formulas by going to the formula bar, click on Show Formulas. Here you can see the formulas that you wrote. Anything that you turn into me, I want you to show your formulas on it, because that way I can see you used formulas and didn't just put the numbers in. Now, when I go to the Backstage view and I go to the print, you see here there are no lines to follow across here. There's a way to make these lines show. So let's go back over here to the Page Layout tab and let's go to Grid Lines. On your grid lines, you're going to say Print Your Grid Lines. Now if I go back over to the Backstage view, and I go into the print view. Look, there's your lines. You can follow your lines across. Now, I'm going to turn my formulas off so it's not so large on the page. There's several different views. If you go down here to the lower right corner, there is a page layout view. This is where you're going to put your headers and your footers. So your page layout is just that. It's going to show the way it's going to show on your page. Your headers are different. They're in 3 parts. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. But on your headers, you don't have to tell it whether you want it right centered on the page, because that's where you set it up. The same thing on your footer. Now the next view is your page break view, and this will show you how if you had multiple pages, how your pages would look. It would show multiple pages on here so that you could see exactly where it is. You can control where your pages break right here by grabbing this lower corner when it turns to a diagonal arrow, and say you don't want to print your average. So you can drag it over here, and that's all that is going to show on page 1. Otherwise, if you have more information, you can make your page larger, whichever it is that you want. So I'm going to change this back to the normal view, and I'm going to go back here to the Backstage view for a minute. If I go back here to the print, a couple of things on your print. Your print is different. On what it is that you're going to print, you're printing either the active sheet, or if you have more than one worksheet, you're going to have to select all of your worksheets to print. So you can say print worksheet 1 through worksheet 4, however many worksheets you have, one-sided or two-sided. Collated, do you want all pages 1 printed at one time? Or all worksheet 1, all worksheet 2, then all worksheet 3, or do you want worksheet 1, 2, and 3 printed? You can actually change your margins from within here. The scaling. If you have what is going to come up to 2 pages, you see here how this is going to print on 2 pages. I really want all of this on 1 page. Right here, I can say fit the whole worksheet on 1 page. Now you look at the preview here. As I click this, fit on 1 page. See what it does? It shrinks the whole worksheet to where it fits on 1 page. If you have a large worksheet, you're not going to be able to do this because it is going to just make this print too small. But in a case like this, it's going to be really nice to where I can get everything on 1 page. You can put all of your rows on 1 page. You can also put all columns on 1 page. It depends upon the way you want to print it. So there's just a little bit of difference in your print. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop here. And what I want you to do is, if you have not read Unit B, please read Unit B before you go on to the next video, because Unit B talks about absolute values. And absolute values is tough, but we're going to work through it, and hopefully we'll get it down for you. Okay, good luck. Bye.